first before going to serve?
When it comes to certificates, you know that we have a lot of problems.
On ITV's breakfast show, this morning on ITV, showing from Mondays to Thursdays at this time.
You are still watching the program this morning on ITV. It's time now for our first discussion segment, and here we'll take a look at aviation. Environmental impact of aviation, part 1 is what we have today on the program this morning on ITV. And I have with me the #1 aviation freak, a man who of course has gone out to some part of Asia, Europe and America on aviation programs and events. He also doubles as a licensed estate surveyor and valuer, Mr. Goddy Ike. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Joe.
You're welcome.
How was your weekend?
Well, thank God. And yours?
Oh, wonderful as always.
Yeah.
And my dear viewers, please welcome to the program.
Okay, quickly we'll go straight into the subject matter. Environmental impact of aviation. What do we mean by that?
Well, Joe, aviation impacts on our environment terribly. And more often than not, we are not mindful. For instance, the engines emit a lot of heat. They emit a lot of gases. They emit a lot of what's known as particulates. That is different particles. excuse me, of materials we find in the atmosphere that is not necessarily good for human beings. And so we're going to begin today. It's a brand new series. I mean, we just finished aviation safety, that took us 7 straight weeks, parts 1 to 7. Now we're starting with part 1 of impact of environment. The aviation environmental impact of aviation. On the earth, and you'll see all you need to know about how aviation is first moving so fast, faster than you can ever imagine. Don't mind the challenges we're having in our own country with the aviation sector. It doesn't give you the correct picture of what's happening globally. Globally, aviation is racing ahead, and and increasing by the year. I mean, I'm talking about aviation activities, and so it's not helping our environment, with the some of the challenges, that the world leaders have been
planes falling off the skies. The one we had last week, that was falling off the sky.
Yeah, but that's a totally different thing altogether. Falling off the skies is a result of many factors, and investigations will always come up with why it happened. You remember, I always said to you, airplanes are very faithful machines. They fall out of the skies because human operators can be unfaithful and dishonest. That's why airplanes fall out of the skies.
It appears that nothing is done to tackle these human errors. Well,
the saying goes that there's no human being that is infallible. We accept that. We have our limitations as human beings. It's only God, that knows it all and can do everything in a perfect. But discipline requires that we get serious when we are dealing with serious issues. If you ask me, sometimes I think we joke a lot with serious matters, and we need to change our attitude. It's all about attitude. You can really get serious if you want to, and painstakingly get things done properly.
Well, we'll come to that later in the program.
That's correct.
Things can be done properly. Who are those in charge? Who are those who charge the responsibility for ensuring that things are done within the ambit of the law? And if anyone is found wanting or flouting any of those laws, what happens to that person?
Oh, well.
Now, let's get to clip
Clip
one of
one,
what
please.
we have on the program today.
Here we go, Joe. Introduction of environmental impact of aviation. Aviation impacts on our environment because aircraft engines emit heat, noise, particulates, and gases. I'll explain especially the particulates, different particles of, that you may find in the atmosphere. Aviation discharges those to us through the jet engines. The result of these emissions is global dimming and climate change. You've been hearing about the Kyoto, stuff that world leaders are always going there arguing who is emitting more, who should take more, more of the bills and stuff like that. And you find America, arguing with China and Japan and the rest of them, all those industrialized nations that have been pumping all sorts into the air and creating global warming for us. But they don't want to pick up the bills, and they're always, haggling and bantering and stuff. So that is, part of it. Now, continuing, carbon dioxide, CO2, water vapor, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, lead, black carbon, and hydrocarbons, and all products of emissions from jet engines. You'll be amazed that this is happening every day, that these jets are tearing away in the skies. That's what they are stuffing us with. These interact among themselves and cause global dimming and climate change. If you take a look at that photograph, Joe, that is what is known as contrails. It's a short form of the word condensation trail. That aircraft is flying over the deserts of Antarctica, the southernmost part of the world, and trailing the aircraft is the contrails, those condensation trails. It's all part of what develops in the mist, in the air, when the jet engine is pumping its gaseous
now, if we
materials.
have aircraft flying our skies and emitting dangerous substance as those listed there, what is the way out?
We'll see. Let's go to clip 2. We'll see. As I take you through, fortunately today we have just about only 6 clips to deal so that we can talk, and then we'll look at various options available to us. Clip 2 is already there with us. Market constraints required to reduce the growth of aviation. One of the just answering your question, one of the things that experts think should happen is that the growth of aviation should be reduced a little bit in order to reduce its impact. Well, I don't know if that is really a fair way to go, but that's what experts are saying. Excuse me. Rapid growth of air travel in recent times contributes to an increase in aviation-induced environmental pollution. This is in spite of emission-efficient automobiles, less polluting turbofan and turboprop. Remember when we did jet engines? We talked about the turbofan and turboprop and the differences. So less polluting turbofan and turboprop engines that have been developed. Studies have shown that between 1992 to 2005, aviation passenger kilometers increased by 5.2% each year. It is also estimated that greenhouse gas emissions from aviation increased by 87%, Joe, between 1990 and 2006. So you can see, the way aviation is growing, and in the process poisoning,
of course,
you and me,
affecting humans.
That's right. in the process. So let's go to clip 3 very quickly. We'll round off this particular session as quickly as we can so that we can do some talking. Market constraints required to reduce the growth of aviation-induced pollutions continues. All right. Research also shows that despite technological improvements to the efficiency of airframes, engines, and flight operations, there appears to be no end to the rapid growth of carbon dioxide emissions from air travel due to the projected growth of air travels. Lack of taxes. This will interest the Nigerian government, for instance. Lack of taxes in aviation fuel worldwide and lower fares contribute to the competitive advantage aviation has over other transportation modes. It follows, therefore, that unless market constraints are put in place, emissions from aviation will only increase. Debate is currently going on over possible increase in taxation of air travel and its inclusion in an emissions trading scheme.
But as we speak, even in Nigeria, airfares have been increased.
That's why people...
I will also know that, travelers pay what they pay, as per fares. It comes in different what do you call it now? Categories.
Yeah.
Tax, whatever allowance, and then the ticket itself. The ticket is just 30%, and the remaining 70% is in allowances, in other taxes that the traveler pays. Why is it so?
Joe, it's a very special nature of the way we are running our aviation sector in Nigeria. Generally speaking, studies have shown that the aviation fuel is not taxed all over the world. And come to think of it, aviation appears to be for the middle and upper class. The poor man in the street is looking for.
Do we see how middle class?
I hope we do. All right. So, what those that are bantering and arguing over this issue of polluting, our atmosphere, what they are saying is, we can slow down the growth of aviation in order to slow down the those.
But how can you slow down
pollutions.
the growth of aviation when, of course, those in the upper class can't even afford to travel, by the road for 3-4 hours?
Well, it's all part of it, and that's why it's school of thought.
So slowing down that,
and that's why
that school of thought may just be wrong.
That's why a school of thought is of the opinion.
It is difficult to slow that down.
Yeah, but that's why they are of the opinion that more taxes should be slammed on aviation so that those that have money should pay more for the services and then provide authorities with more money to deal with the issues of development and issues of slowing down the effects of pollution on the citizenry. It's a way of redistribution of wealth. By the way, we should not be feeling sorry for those who pay the bills.
If we don't feel sorry for them, we know. The last time we talked about the Lagos airport where residential, houses are very close to the airport, which you said is not the norm. That residential
you should have a buffer zone.
Should be very far from the airport.
That's correct.
Now, for people living close to the airport, what kind of damages will this?
A whole lot. I remember way back in the mid 80s, I spent a couple of years in Lagos, and I lived somewhere they call Ajao Estate, and every morning, right from 6 o'clock or thereabout, you find these jets tearing away right over my roof, and it was horrible. It was very horrible experience, and people are still experiencing those up until this moment. Noise is number one. And I remember when Margaret Thatcher was said to have passed through Nigeria and landed for a few minutes right there at the airport, and I think some government officials went there to see her, and the plane that brought her in was so noisy, it was unbelievable. Walls were shaking and vibrating, and as if they were coming down. I don't know what sort of aircraft that was, but it was noisy beyond the normal, jet engine tearing away over our roofs. This time around, it was vibrating the walls, and so noise is number one. People are going through, and and people are losing their ability to hear.
Because they stay close to the airport.
That's correct. And we don't even know it. Our medical researchers are not doing enough. They are not even getting us statistics of, do we really have good statistics of anything? You see, this is one sad aspect.
We have.
I hope we do,
so many,
because if you research on aviation, you see that most of the information you find will be information elsewhere other than what we are doing locally. We need to push out a lot of information on, no matter what they are, good or bad. The whole essence is to know where we are not getting it right and begin to fix it up and get it right. Nobody is saying that we should be overnight perfect. No, the saying goes that Rome was not built in a day.
Yeah, but what steps have we taken to start the journey of perfection?
I always put it back to you as journalists. My business is thorough information here.
Okay,
you journalists go find out and get us more information.
Let's get to clip 4.
Clip 4, please. Right. Aviation's contribution to climate change. Now listen to this, and then you see what we are up against. Just as humans inevitably engage in activities involving combustion, aviation activities also release carbon dioxide, CO2, and other gases into the atmosphere. These activities accelerate global warming and ocean acidification. The present rate of growth of aviation globally is certainly not helping matters. Studies show that currently about 8.3 million people fly daily globally, translating to 3 billion occupied seats per year. Figures are judged to be twice what it was in 1999. During the 12 months spanning between October 2013 and September 2014, United States Airlines alone are said to have burned 16.2 billion gallons of fuel. And so, you can now, your gaze is as good as mine, the sort of pollution that we are dealing with here. Let's run quickly to clip 5. We'll get this through to the end, and then clip 5, please. Now, Joe, if you take a look at the photographs there, those are also, contraries of, two 747 jets. One flying in the night and the other one flying during the day. Giving you a clear idea of what's going on as these airplanes are tearing away in the skies. Right. So we are continuing with aviation's contribution to climate change. Apart from the carbon dioxide, CO2, released by aircraft in flight, greenhouse gas emissions come from airport vehicles and other mechanical machines used at the airports. So it's not just about the airplanes.
Of course,
the
plants,
other motorable machines that are operating, including generators, electric generators, bringing it back home, to Nigeria.
They all emit, gas.
That's correct.
And these gases are, of course, harmful to human.
That's what's giving us the greenhouse effect.
But we also need to know if such gases can cause cancer of the skin.
I'm not a medical doctor, and I don't want to comment on those areas. I would urge you, as journalists, I'm not referring to you just as Joe, but as journalists.
It's okay.
We should be. Joe, you get
the issue.
You get very defensive when I raise. Can you let me speak for 1 second?
Okay, go on.
You get very defensive when I raise this issue. I won't stop saying it. You journalists must be up and doing. You must sit up. Key into what research fellows like my humble self are doing for this nation, free of charge, by the way. Get information, pursue them, not because you want to insult anybody, not because you want to run down any government or government agency, no, but because you want to bring to fore things that should occupy those.
We are saying the same thing here.
Okay, tell me.
Same thing.
Tell me what you're saying.
You are a research fellow. You have been doing out this information, for quite a long time now. And you just told us that one of the environmental impact of aviation, it can affect hearing. That's what you just said.
Yeah.
So
excessive noise is not good for
in that
ears.
same line I ask, can it also cause skin cancer?
I wouldn't comment on that. Find out from medical fellows.
Let's go to the last clip. Clip 6.
Clip 6, please.
The last one, and then we just
Right. We're still dealing with aviation's contribution to climate change. The flowing greenhouse emissions get into the atmosphere as a result of aviation activities. Joe, by the way, what I've just done is an index of some of the gases, and by the time we come to part 2, I'm going to give you details of what each of them is doing to us environmentally speaking. That will form our part 2, that will come next Monday. So let's go on now. Flowing greenhouse emissions get into the atmosphere as a result of aviation activities. Number 1, carbon dioxide, CO2. 2 is nitric oxide, NO. 3, nitrogen dioxide, NO2. Numbers 2 and 3, and I'm talking about nitric acid and nitrogen dioxide above, are usually referred to as oxides of nitrogen. All right, NOx. All right. Number 4 is water vapor. 5, particulates such as soot and sulfur particles in the air. Then number 6, sulfur oxides. Number 7, hydrocarbons. 8, tetraethyl lead, usually emitted by piston aircraft only. You remember when we dealt with jet engines, we looked at those piston engines as well. One of these days we're going to repeat those and remind our viewers of what we're talking about. And then number 9 is hydroxyl OH. Now these are some of the chemicals and gases that these engines are emitting into the atmosphere every day, in their millions and millions of tons every day, and you and I are breathing them in, taking them in, and may God help us what this is doing to us medically speaking. But the doctors,
which some of us don't know.
Yes, the doctors will have to
some of us
take it to the doctors.
If I should ask you as a research fellow now, that you are going to push it, on the doorstep of journalists.
Yes.
But since we don't have the disadvantage of taking in this carbon, emitted by this heavy duty equipment the aircraft, especially Boeing 737 and all of that.
Yeah.
Since we don't know the damage it can cause.
I have an idea. I have an idea.
You have an
I have an idea now, Joe. You know what we're going to do? Invite a very experienced medical doctor to join us on Monday when we do part 2, where I intend to give more details about these chemicals, what they constitute, and what they seem to be pushing across to humans occupying the earth. And so if we have a very experienced medical doctor in our midst, he will take them one after the other and give us and our viewers ideas.
Now, before we go, you recommend,
or a chemist, any of them, any of them can tell us.
As we're about to round up the discussion segment, you talked about the fact that there is need to increase airfares.
Yes, as a way of.
Don't you think it is rather, unfair on travelers?
Joe, those that are traveling by air can afford it. It's peanuts to them. And we need more taxes in this country. We need more money to invest on development, especially ensuring that our skies are safe, and the airplanes we fly are properly maintained, and what's more,
maintenance is on the operators.
Well,
it shouldn't come from
if they get more money. They will have more money to spend in avoid cutting corners. Most importantly, I need to see somebody who really gets careless and slaughters innocent human beings jailed, or even possibly, depending on the level of culpability, executed. The level of unseriousness in the system and the way people deal with issues of maintenance and decisions made that end up causing accidents in the air. I do not agree with the principle that ICAO is operating at the moment, saying, we don't want to know who caused this accident. I want to know why it happened, and want to investigate. Yes, we don't want to hold anyone responsible.
Always investigate and give us report
and say this was why it happened. We are recommending this, recommending that, and making sure that it doesn't happen again. But last week you saw the tail end of aviation safety.
Yes.
That even human operators willfully, deliberately crash aircraft and kill innocent people. Some people,
and nothing happened to them.
Willfully, deliberately, do not do what they should do in order to ensure that the faithful machine, the aircraft, serves us safely. And at the end of the day, you say that your report is advisory. It's all about making sure it doesn't happen again. But the only language human beings understand is the language of punishment, deterrent. If you don't deter people from doing the wrong things, the tendency is that they will continue to do it.
Who deters them?
The law should be able to deal with that, and law enforcement agents should be able to sit up and begin to show that we have laws.
To deal with the upper class.
The laws have teeth.
To deal with the upper class, because we all agree.
I am not segregating now, Joe.
Yes.
I am not segregating now. The law is for everyone. Everyone. Whether you're young, you're small or big or super big or whoever you are.
The issue is,
I am not segregating.
Can the law catch up with those in the upper class?
It's a question of making up our minds to send out a strong signal out there that we have laws, that these laws have teeth, can bite, are willing to bite, and will bite when they catch you doing the wrong thing.
Only those in the lower class.
Well, that's your opinion, Joe. We can change all that. It's a question of sitting up and being serious.
You think so?
Yeah, we can change all that.
Okay. That is the much we have on this discussion segment. We've been looking at environmental impact of aviation. part 1. Part 2, of course, will come your way same time, same station next week with the #1 aviation freak in Nigeria, who also doubles as a licensed estate surveyor and valuer, Mr. Goddy Ike.
Joe, I always said to you, yes, probably from Nigeria, but I am the only one in the world. The only one in the world. Probably from Nigeria.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, it shall be time to look at some issues in the doorstep of the Federal Ministry of Justice, talking about prosecution, talking about, of course, the Army, pledge to monitor posts on social media, and that will be done through the eyes of the special advisor to the President on prosecution, Barrister Obla Okoye. Stay with us.